Hello, everyone, and welcome to Madman Review. This episode is all about trucks, specifically for hunters and anglers alike. For these people, a truck is absolutely crucial. Trucks help haul all the gears, boats, and ramps, all of which help put food on the table. That said, not just any truck does the job well. Luckily, you can get a decent truck at a reasonable price so long as you lower your standard a bit. That means you need to look to the used market. Of course, a prospect is not as exciting as buying a brand new truck. But it does not matter at the end of the day if it can do the same thing. Truck manufacturers and owners love to talk about various specifications of the vehicle, such as tow capacity, engine size, etc. However, on the more utilitarian side, you only need to pay attention to certain specs. You want to know the horsepower, torque, payload, fuel economy, as well as any other common mechanical issues or defects for the truck. It does not matter how cheap the truck is if it breaks down often and guzzles fuel. Other than that, understanding the history behind the truck is also important. What to look for in a used truck? Nowadays, finding used trucks is easier than ever. There are plenty out there, which makes the whole adventure overwhelming. Here are some tips to help you narrow down your options. Torque, not horsepower. It's fine if physics is not your forte, but it's important to understand the difference between the two and why it's important. Simply put, horsepower is an engine's speed to get work done quickly. On the other hand, torque, or turning force, is the amount of power you have when the wheel touches the road. Bigger horsepower is usually in the spotlight, but you want enough torque so you can tow trailers, gears, and your buddies when you're out on a hunting or fishing trip. If your truck is for towing and off-roading, you need low-end torque, high-end power at lower RPMs. If you have to have one over the other, prioritize torque over horsepower. How much torque do you need? Anywhere between 250 to 300 foot-pounds should be more than enough. Luckily, many V8 engines after the 90s have the amount of power behind them. Maintenance over mileage. Ideally, you want to buy a used truck with less than 200,000 miles on the odometer unless you plan to use it strictly on the highway. But that's not the only thing to look out for. Make sure to inspect the vehicle so you fully understand the condition. Know its past maintenance, mileage, and history. Start with a full body inspection. Look for any sign of damage, mismatched parts, and rust. Any sign of damage suggests a past accident, and rust could mean deeper decay. If you see that the truck structure is compromised in any way, do not buy it, no matter how sweet the deal is. Of course, the older the truck, the more wear and tear it has experienced. This is why a lot of people avoid trucks with high mileage. While this strategy works, it does not tell the whole story. For instance, trucks exclusively used on the highway may have high mileage. However, critical components are still in good shape, such as the brake system. In the end, you have a truck that can outlast those with much smaller mileage but has been put through rough conditions. Mileage matters, but do not overlook maintenance. Understand what the truck went through before you buy it. Don't be too shy to ask the previous owner what kind of maintenance it received. For example, a highway truck with 250,000 miles with an oil change every 3,000 miles can be a better deal than a truck with 150,000 miles used for hauling heavy loads with an oil change every 6,000 miles. Payload and tow capacity. In addition to torque, you also need to look at payload. Long story short, payload determines how much gear and how many people can you haul with your truck. So the higher, the better. That's not to say that you cannot haul more than the advertised payload, but doing so means putting your truck's engine, transmission, and frame under more stress than they can handle. That can introduce unnecessary wear and tear, and reducing the life expectancy of your ride. Payload here also covers your weight, so know how much gear you need to haul as well as the weight of you and anyone you decide to bring along. Tow capacity is another can of worms. This refers to the durability of your truck's frame or powertrain, which determines the weight of the trailer. You need to know the weight of the trailer and your cargo to prevent unintentional damage to your truck. Other things to consider. Before you commit to your purchase, there are a couple other things to consider. Look at the drive system, aftermarket add-ons, differentials, etc. Add-ons such as tires, bed liners, and lifts are particularly important. Hunters would find great use for a four-wheel drive equipped with off-road tires suitable for all sorts of terrain, not to mention a locking or limited slip rear differential. These really help you move around much more efficiently off the pavement. Body and suspension lifts serve to improve visibility and accessibility for the driver. You can reach places where a stock suspension does not allow. Keep in mind that a lift compromises the truck's stability and handling, not to mention the increased risk for a rollover, so too high a lift can be an issue. That's to say nothing of the simple consideration of figuring out how to haul a 200-pound deer onto the truck by yourself. Best used trucks, personal recommendations. With that out of the way, there are some models that are perfect for hunters and anglers. As always, the links and relevant information are in the video description, so make sure to check it out. The Toyota Tundra. These trucks are modern compared to the rest of the list. As always, the lower the mileage, the higher the price. But as far as Toyota and their full-size pickups are concerned, they hold their value very well. To give you an idea, with basic care, the truck can go over 300,000 miles without breaking a sweat. When it comes to Toyota trucks, you know that they're super reliable. Reliable as they are, that does not mean you can abuse it willy-nilly. They rarely break down, but when they do, they cost a bit more to fix compared to other trucks of the same age. Plus, it does not have much aftermarket support, so keep that in mind. Before you commit to the purchase, make sure that the frame is replaced. The old one suffered from frame rusting, which is a rare hiccup from Toyota. Most Tundra nowadays already got the fix, but you should ask to be on the safe side. The Chevrolet GMC CK 1500. These trucks have been around for quite some time. In fact, you can still find these from the late 80s to the late 90s, which is the recommended time bracket. Just because they're old does not mean they cannot keep up with the newer models. In fact, they got enough power, off-road capabilities, and hauling prowess, even by today's standards. But one thing to keep in mind, always go for the gas-powered V8. Of course, you can tell that the truck comes from before the 2000s because of its older design, but also means fewer bells and whistles, therefore much simpler repairs and maintenance. All this saves you a lot of money on spare parts in the long run, even though these trucks are very reliable and unlikely to break down. The only downside is that they are so reliable that getting your hands on one can be a challenge. If you do find one, it might be on the expensive side, relatively speaking, especially if it has under 200,000 miles. That is to be expected. With proper care, you can go over 300,000 miles on the stock engine and transmission. But when you get it, you will find that there's massive aftermarket support, so there's always room for an upgrade later on if you choose. The Ford F-150. The F-150s that rolled off the manufacturing line between 1997 and 2004 should cost you below $10,000. You cannot go wrong with this classic. If you find one, go for the one with V8. It has sufficient torque, horsepower, payload capacity, and towing capacity to handle most of the things you throw at it. This model is solid and reliable, not to mention that it has one of the biggest aftermarket supports on the market right now. The F-150 is one of the most popular models in America. Maintenance and repairs are cheap, on the off chance it does break down. Spare parts are easy to acquire, assuming that there isn't an online resource on how to fix a problem right at home. All of this keeps maintenance costs down. That said, the mileage would be massive. Expect to see somewhere between 150,000 to 200,000 miles. Also, make sure to check it comes with the upgraded spark plug threads. The old variants had an issue with spitting spark plugs out of the engine. Most of the F-150s already got this fixed, but it never hurts to check. And there you have it. Of course, they are not brand new trucks, but they are affordable and reliable, so you can find comfort in knowing that any of the purchases you make are solid. They do not look flashy, but you don't need all the bells and whistles if you only need them to do the job. With proper care, these trucks will be good for years, and you'll develop a sense of affection towards these classics. If you find this video helpful and entertaining, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more content like this. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.